All right. Good morning. Good morning to everyone out there in Caregivers World. Just give me a few minutes to share this stream to a few places. For everyone that's coming on today, we're having a caregiver conversation around the topic of anticipatory grief. And while you're coming on, if you know a caregiver that is a caregiver for a family member, a loved one, for work, feel free to like, tag, and share this broadcast with them. November, we're still in the month of November, and it is National Caregivers Month. So we are empowering caregivers. We are sharing tips to caregivers, and we would like you and your friends to be on. So just give me 1 moment to share it to a few places for our viewers. If you're watching from my personal Facebook page, you can share it from there. If you're watching from the Caregivers YouTube page, you can share it from there. Or if you are in the caregivers group, caregiver support group, you can share it from there as well. Just 1 moment while we are setting everything up. All right. So thank you all for joining. Let me just make sure, because I have a couple people that's trying to get on in the group. Give me 1 second. Let me see why it's not there yet. Technology and platforms. Anybody know what that is like? Just 1 moment. Okay, so I don't know what's going on, but at some point I think it will pop up in the group. All right, so this morning, again, welcome everyone. For those that don't know me, I'm Whitney Rochelle. I am the creator of the Caregivers group on Facebook, Caregiver Support group on Facebook. With me this morning, I have author Andrea Rhett and Rhett, I'm sorry, author Andrea Rhett. And she is the author of In a Caregiver's Voice. I've had a chance to read this, pretty much all of it, and it is about her caregiving journey. And so today I'm going to allow her to introduce herself, as well as we're just going to have a conversation about anticipatory grief, when grief actually starts. And she's going to share her experiences, as well as there's one particular thing from this book that I wanted to share, that a piece that I enjoyed as well. So I'm going to hand it over to Miss Andrea, let her introduce herself, and we'll go on with the story.
Good morning. My name is Andrea Rhett, and God gave me a mandate to write this book. And I was able to write it because through the whole journey, I was journaling. And everything that I wrote, God said, get it together. And I need to put it together and write a book. And I was like, okay. And it was difficult. It took me a little while because I was still grieving. And so it was hard to go through those memories again, bring all that stuff back. And every time I had to do a rewrite, it was like, oh no, I have to do it again. But I got through it, and God just gently pushed me through. And we have in a caregiver's voice that I think will be very helpful, because a lot of times as caregivers, you feel things that you can't really tell everybody, because they'll think you're crazy. They'll think maybe we shouldn't leave her with Nana. But because what we feel is very real, but we learn to we learn to we learn to allow God to take that weight and that pressure, because it's constant and you're tired. You're exhausted physically and emotionally. And I just think this book will help people. It'll give you a little bit of an idea how to release some of that, how to let some of it go and still do what you have to do, because you still have to do what you have to do. So, I can't hear you.
Sorry, look, I had it on mute,
Okay.
but there is you begin and you're talking about taking time to breathe, because and that's a lot of what happens. What I find is that when we're immersed, we're caregiving is just like one of those journeys that we're immersed into without a especially when it's for a loved one.
Yeah.
There's really like no instructions. It's just it happens, and you got to figure out day by day what
That's
you need
right.
to do next. And so one part in your book was talking about to breathe. And a lot of times I constantly remind caregivers to stop and breathe, stop, take, even if it's only 30 minutes to recollect yourself, if it's 30 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, doesn't matter how short in time it may seem, but take a few minutes to get yourself together and to process things. And a lot of times, I know you and I, when we first met and we spoke, we talked about how at the point of diagnosis, grief begins.
Yeah.
And would you elaborate on that just a little bit for the audience?
Um, when we got the diagnosis, stage four, stage four cancer, prostate cancer. And I remember so vividly the ride home in the car, because he asked me, now, what did he say? And so I reiterated to him, I said, he said stage four prostate cancer. And I remember very deliberately being very calm, because I knew if I was calm, he would be calm. And I explained it to him. And then there was silence. And we just went about our day. And it was a few months later that I was trying to figure out, why am I so sad all the time? And that comes up in even how you care for the person, because you're sad and they need things and you need things. And I finally figured it out that once I realized, okay, yes, this is the diagnosis, this is where we're going, it became real. And you start the grieving process, because now you're starting to have to think about, okay, by the time we're finished with his favorite meal that I know that I have in the cupboard, will he be here? And just little things. And then you have to think about, okay, I have to think about a funeral. You have to think about these things. And all these things are painful, but it has to be done. And so you do it. And as you're going, you begin to realize, okay, this isn't going to last forever. And but how long is that going to be? So all these questions running through your mind, and and you're looking at the person that you're taking care of, and it's like, he's not going to be here. Then what do I do? And just the emotional upheaval. It's like, okay, this is why I'm sad. This is why I feel this way. And it's like, okay, it's okay. It's okay. Because you have to allow for that. And I had to give myself some grace, and I had to remind myself to breathe a whole lot more. But and that works, by the way. It's a simple thing, but it works. And so it just became where I just had to, settle in day by day. Okay, what's next? What's next? And that became my secret weapon, to be organized about what was next. So then I could just walk into it and not stumble into it. And so,
I like that, being organized about what's next. And when we think about grief, you know, there are 5 stages to grief, and one that you just described was shock. Pretty much that whole initial shock once you get any type of diagnosis, especially a terminal illness, because immediately your mind goes to, okay, this is we're working, pretty much just waiting on the end.
yeah,
And the shock of that alone, it does wear off, but the shock of that alone, I find a lot of times that family members, some of them cannot move past that initial state of shock.
yeah,
And when you can't work through that initial state of shock, then it's hard for you to prepare for what's next, or
right,
for what's coming.
right.
So I think in your book you have quite a few great things that you recommend through your process, um, to help others through their process. There was you have a part in here where you talk about, I love the fact that you were a potter, and making pottery and all of that with the clay. I love that. And there was a part in here where you spoke about, you knew that there were a lot of things that you didn't finish when
Mhm.
it came to pottery, but you knew on this caregiving journey that God had pretty much placed you here. This was going to be something that you had to finish.
Right.
And I could see myself in that so much, because when we start out on the journey with our loved ones, especially after a diagnosis or after a traumatic event has happened, oftentimes we are forced to finish.
Yes.
um yeah, we're forced to finish.
Yeah.
And being forced to finish means that you become the everything for that person.
Yeah.
And last week, or the week before last, I was on with Cheryl, and we talked about, delegating to get through the processes,
Mhm.
delegating different tasks, delegating, things to help get through, help you get through the journey.
Yeah.
And I just, I'm able to relate to so many things. And so that's why I'm going to be pushing this book, because I know that there are others out here that will definitely be able to relate to a lot of your journey. So I'm gonna shift gears just a little bit, because we talked about the anticipatory grief, which is just that initial, everything that happens before the end, all the
Mhm.
feelings before you get to the part of the end. But now let's talk a little bit about grief in itself, after it, after the fact, after you know the death has occurred,
Mhm.
after we get to the point where we realize that, okay, this is it,
Yeah.
I've completed. um how how are you, or what was your experience in handling your um your after grief process?
The after grief. The after grief for me was easier because, the funeral's done, everything's done. And I know that I have done everything possible, everything that he wanted done, everything that needed to be said, everything got accomplished. And that's one of the things that God taught me about finishing. Your slate is clean, you can move forward. And because afterwards, it still took me a minute to, when I would drive by the street he lived on, my shoulders would tense up a little bit. And I had to tell myself, relax, relax, it's okay. It's okay. And that took about 6 months because I had to drive that way every day. So, but there was a peace about it because I knew that I had done everything. Everything was taken care of, and everything was taken care of. So it took about 6 months to a year where I felt that, feel like crying, oh, I miss him. That took longer than I thought. But like I said, there was such a peace about it because everything had been finished. And that was one of the lessons that God taught me about finishing things. When I give you something, I need you to finish it. And
I love that. I absolutely love that. And the reason why I bring up wanted to shift to the grief afterwards is because we're right here at the holiday season. And
mm-hmm.
there's so many people whose caregiving journey, their grief, they're dealing with the
Yeah.
after grief,
The
the
first
missing the
time.
loved ones, first
Yeah.
time for some people, without, the person. And also not only grieving them, but also grieving there's also a shift in life and mindset that
Mm-hmm.
happens because after you pretty much transitioned your life to be a caretaker for somebody else, you have to put a lot of your things to the side. You put a lot
Right.
of your responsibilities to the side, a lot of things that you love to the side, and you
Mm-hmm.
sacrifice a lot. And
Yeah.
so there also comes a grief with that because you're having to pretty much, you feel like you're giving away a part of you or giving up a part of you.
Yeah.
And then there's the grief of when it's all over. Now you feel like you have to go and find yourself again.
Yeah.
Now I need to find out what I like again. I need to find out what entertains me. I need to find
Right.
out about me again because my life has been revolved around being a caretaker.
Right.
And so if I had to speak to anybody this morning that's dealing with grief,
Mm.
I would I would say, and I'm speaking on this from experience. This is our since 2022, so this is about our third year without my brother, and that was I've lost a lot of family members over the years, but he was the closest the closest thing to me and most recent death that I've experienced as far as family and caregiving, because I also was his caregiver. I was his, what can I say, his secretary. I was his accountant. I was his communicator, with the insurances, his
Mm.
advocate, during his hospital stays and doing his procedures, all of that. And so I know for myself that I went through that, when everything was over, just, part of me was able to breathe because, like you said,
Mhm.
he was at peace.
Yeah.
But there was also that part of me that needed to find Whitney again, that
Yeah.
needed to start the rebuild and repair. And so if you can hear yourself in what I'm talking about, it's okay to grieve and rediscover, and that's what I'm going to say, because in you rediscovering you, that's going to help you to also be able to deal with the grief. There
Yeah.
were things that I started to do. I remember I started doodling. Um,
Yes.
I read that in your book too. I started doodling, and I started doing it on Canva. So that's when my journey with learning Canva started and becoming a content creator, because I
Mm,
had to do something to keep my mind
yeah,
off of, keep my mind off of what I was going through and what I was
right,
experiencing. So that also helped me to not keep my mind off of it, but to shift my focus and to shift my feelings into the work that I was
right.
doing. And I learned a new craft all at the same time. And
Mm,
so I say that during this holiday season, maybe cooking is your thing. So
mm,
this is the perfect time to cook and bless somebody else with the meal,
yeah,
or just have that time with other people. This is the perfect time to also gather and share your story. You know, there are some people that they may get tired or may have gotten tired of hearing your story, because you're going to have to talk through it. So you
yeah,
got to find your tribe. That's one of the things that I love about Caregiver Support Group, is that people can log into there. They can talk as much as they want. They can repeat themselves as much as they need to repeat themselves. They can tell the story as many times, because in telling the story, every time you get a release. So take this holiday season, be around people that you love, be around people that are supportive of your journey, and people that understand, even if they don't understand where you are, but they have a listening ear. Be
yeah,
around people that have that ear and that heart to hear you out, because
mhm.
literally you're talking yourself out.
Right, right.
So just before we close in, our time is coming near. So just before we close in, are there any other um how can I say it, any other resources or any other advice that you would like to provide to the caregiving community, just before we talk about how they can reach you to get your book?
Um, ask for help. Um, ask for help because some of you have the advantage of having family around that can help out. But if you don't have that, you need to ask for help. Um, invite your friends over to spend time with who you're taking care of. Little things like that. I found that having somebody else's face to look into besides the two of you makes a big difference. And it's a relief for both of you. And ask, oh my God, I can't tell you how important this is. I wish I had asked for more help because I had friends who would have, stepped in, but I was busy. I was busy doing that thing, boy. And now I know I didn't have to do it by myself. And that's my one thing for today. I would say ask for help from the nurses at the doctor's office, because the nurses know what's going on. And people at the counter, that's who you talk to. And have your friends come in one at a time and visit. And even if you don't get to go anywhere, just having somebody else in the house or in the room makes a difference. Ask for help.
Love that. Ask for help. I would add to that, delegate. When people do want to help,
Yes.
I find people, to say, oh, we don't need anything. Oh, we're fine. When people want to help, allow them to help,
Yeah.
because and allow them to come in, because another thing that can happen with caregiving is you can become isolated. And
Yes.
isolation leads to depression, it leads to anxiety, it leads to just a lot of mental things that can go on when you're isolated from
Yeah.
seeing other people. Like you were just saying, be around other people, see some different faces.
Mm,
You need to go out and breathe the fresh air. Things like that. Asking for help, delegating tasks,
yeah.
allowing people in to help, and conditioning your loved one to receive the help would
Hmm.
be all of the things that, if I had to leave some nuggets, I would. Those are all the things that I would add to what she just said. And before we close out, I would like our author here just to let us know how we can find her book or how we can also connect with her. And if there are any other projects that she has going on for caregivers or any resources that she would like to share.
Um, you can get in touch with me at Patient Potter, PATIENTPOTTER at Gmail. And just let me know if you want a book. I will gladly send you one. It is $14.99. And I don't have anything else going on right now, but I'm so grateful to Whitney for the opportunity to share with you today because we need each other. And what you do is amazing because people have an outlet to go to. And because there are other people that are going through the same thing. There's a lot of people going through the same things, and we need to talk to each other and encourage each other. So thank you so much, Whitney.
Oh, you're welcome. You are so welcome. Thank you for coming on just to share, and let me make sure I'm not mispronouncing your name. Andrea. Did I say it right?
You did.
Okay. Andrea, thank you so much just for being on. And I try to do these every so often just because we need our networks. We need to strengthen our networks. Support,
Yeah,
whether it's your professional network, your community network, your support groups. They all work together to bring about strength.
right,
And I try to collaborate with people that are on different parts of this walk, because I don't know it all. I haven't had every single experience.
right,
There we all bring something new, something different. People that I can't reach, maybe they hear something from you, and they're able to relate. You have book, you have a resource that they can also have tangibly and
right.
pick up and read. So again, I thank you for just coming on. And this time, if you would like, if anyone that's listening would like me to do a book review for you, or would like to be a guest on our caregivers support group channel, please reach out to me. I'll be happy to set up and see how we can collaborate, work together, and host. So anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. You all have a wonderful Monday, a beautiful week, and God bless each and every one of you.
God bless you.
Bye bye.
Mhm.